The voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. And our conversation with Howard Burman is brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Howard Burman on the line with us from somewhere around San Francisco, California on this morning. And it's good to talk with you about your new book, Mutt's Dream, Making the Mick. Good morning.
It's great to be here. Yeah, good morning. Great to be here.
I'm glad that you're with us here today because this is a wonderful book. I love the read, and I love the style of it all, the dialogue that goes on as we talk about Mickey Mantle and the making of Mickey Mantle into a ball player. That really was Mutt Mantle's dream, wasn't it?
It was Mutt Mantle's dream, absolutely. You know, he was a miner. He worked in the lead and zinc mines. It was difficult work. It was dirty work. It was dangerous work. There's nothing else to be done, really, in those days in that part of Oklahoma. You might farm or you worked in the mine. And Mutt tried farming a couple of times, didn't work out, ended up in the mine. Like most miners, hated it. It was a tough job. He had a dream. His dream was his young son, Mickey, could get out of the mine, get out of that area of Oklahoma, have a successful life as a baseball player. He thought to himself, the only thing I know to give my son, only thing I can do. I'm not a doctor. I can't teach him to study law. I can't teach him anything other than what I know, and what I know is baseball. So that was his lifelong dream. Unfortunately, he never saw it happen because he died very shortly after Mickey made the major leagues.
Yeah, and what a sad part of the story that is. That comes at the end of your book. The making of Mickey into a player, though, really establishes Mutt Mantle as an interesting guy. Very stoic, not a very humble man, but a very, very gifted ball player himself.
He was. He played in the semi-pro leagues around that area, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri. How good he was, it's hard to really know. They didn't have scouts in those days. If you played in those leagues, it was not likely anyone was going to see you that would allow you to go elsewhere. But he certainly was a good ball player, and he loved it. And his father before him was a good ball player. And between the two of them, they worked with Mickey a lot. Mutt threw right-handed, Charlie, Mutt's father, threw left-handed. And together, they worked to make Mickey who he was.
I think it's really interesting, that aspect of the training of Mickey Mantle, because Mutt, he started the training when he was in the crib, when he was newborn. Not being able to identify, this is going to be a great athlete because he's shown me so much in his young development. He decided, I'm going to fashion this kid into the ball player, and he had a specific reason for it. Not only the love of baseball, but he just wanted him to get out of there so he wasn't ending up in the mines.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people know the story, but when Mickey first went to play minor league ball, he was in a slump. He called his father and says, I can't do it anymore. His father got in their old LaSalle car and rushed over to where Mickey was, I think in Springfield, if I recall, and said, okay, pack up, let's go. We can start in the mines tomorrow morning. And with that, Mickey thought, maybe not.
The relationship between Mutt and Mickey is really interesting to watch develop. Mickey Mantle, his great goal growing up was never disappoint Dad, always make Dad proud, never disappoint him, and he really, really worked hard at that. But then you watch as he develops, and you develop it so well in your book, the relationship between the two of them. Mickey did not back down from him, and Mickey took note of his quirks and had a little fun with them too.
He did. They really had a great relationship. It wasn't one without some moments between father and son, as always is the case. But they had a very good relationship. One of Mickey's best friends said that it was a love story. They truly loved each other, got along extremely well. And Mutt was lucky, in a sense, as you indicated earlier, that Mickey had the natural ability to do what he wanted him to do. Not all kids have that ability.
Yeah.
I played catch with my father a lot, but came up a little bit short of the Yankees. Actually, I came up a little bit short of my high school team.
Yeah, well, that's you're right. That is another story. This story, there's a hero who emerges in this story that I just love. Mickey's mom, Lavelle. Is that how it was pronounced?
Yeah, Lavelle.
Oh,
she was a
man.
piece of work. Yeah,
She was
she was
something
a piece
else.
of work. Yeah.
Tell me about her relationship with her husband. She's older than him, and she does not. She's another one who recognizes that he's a stubborn guy, but he's a guy that you can get along with, and her relationship with him is really fascinating to watch.
Yeah, she was a firebrand, whereas Mutt was rather controlled and modest in his demeanor. Lavelle was anything but that. I mean, we tell the story in the book about when Mickey's playing basketball for Commerce High. She just takes on the refs like you can't believe. And language we probably don't want to use this morning.
Yeah.
But it was pretty aggressive. And then, of course, Mickey goes into the hospital. He's kicked in the leg playing football. He's in the hospital. He has osteomyelitis. The doctors try to treat it for a number of days. They call the parents in, and they say, I'm sorry, Mutt, Lavelle, we're going to have to take the leg off. It wasn't like maybe we'll have to take it off. It was, we're going to take the leg off.
Mm-hmm.
And Lavelle went, no, you're not going to take the leg off. And she reamed them something they didn't want to think about. And they eventually got it under control with penicillin. But it did lead to a lot of the injuries he had later in life.
Yeah. One of the interesting aspects of the book as well to me is that the idea of growing up in the Depression, as Mickey Mantle did, and of, the misadventures kids get into. With Mickey, they ended up being a lot more serious than other kids, perhaps. And there's a fascinating story about him playing some summer baseball and folks passing the hat and rewarding him for his good play. It almost cost him his high school athletics career.
Yeah, he had a day at playing minor league, playing this amateur ball, and he had a couple of home runs that day. And some kid in the stands passed the hat around and collected some money, and that was done a lot in those days. That was not unusual. And they handed it to Mickey, and Mickey said, "Gosh, this is great. This is a lot of money. I can go down to the drugstore, get some eat, we can play some pool." It was good spending money for him. Mm-hmm. Next morning, the principal calls him into the office and says, "We're sorry, Mickey, you can no longer play for our high school. You can't play football, you can't play baseball, you can't play basketball." And he had been playing all three. And Mickey was devastated. He goes back to the team he was playing with, the Baxter Springs Whiz Kids. A guy by the name of Barney was the manager, and Barney says, "Look, I'll take care of this." He goes into the school, he pays the money back himself, and Mickey's allowed to play again. He said Barney told Mickey he was alone, but he never saw the money again.
Yeah. Howard Burman with us. The book is called Mutt's Dream, Making the Mick. As you watch Mickey develop, it's mostly as a hitter, and that becomes a bit of a problem as he is moving on and transitioning into pro ball, and even the scouts taking a look at him. Finding a position for Mickey Mantle to play became a bit of a challenge.
It did. He started out as a catcher. When he was real young, he was a catcher. And he was so small that people would say he looked like a turtle with the head sticking out in front of behind the catcher's gear. And they were concerned about him catching because of his size. And so they moved him to the infield, second base, shortstop mostly. And in high school, he pitched a lot. He was known as probably the best pitcher on the team, or the second best pitcher on the team. But he was not a great shortstop, as we all know. Yeah. He even came up to the Yankees initially, playing some short. Casey Stengel took one look at him and said, "Hey, kid, hit the outfield." and he became an outfielder ever since.
Wow. And we watch Mutt as he sees this. And it's almost as if you say to yourself, here's Mutt. He spent all this time making him into a great hitter and a great switch hitter, hasn't paid all that much attention to him on the field. You can almost see Mutt going, I should have spent some time on that as well. But it works out for Mick in the end. Howard Burman, our guest here, the book is Mutt's Dream, Making the Mick. What made you write the book?
I was interested in taking a look at how does an extraordinary life emerge from ordinary beginnings. And so really what I did was I looked at the beginning and the end of Mickey. We know at the end what happened. He's in the hospital, he's dying, he gets a new liver, maybe he jumped the line, the donation line, maybe not. No, he didn't. The doctors may have jumped the donation line, may not have. People were really, really, really critical of him. This guy lost his kidney because he drank too much. It was his own fault. So I wanted to take that as the beginning and then see how we got there. T.S. Eliot has a wonderful line. He says, "In the end is my beginning, in the beginning is my end." So I tried to tell the end and the beginning of the story. People know the middle. We know what happens to him as a baseball player. That part's clear. But I wanted to show the other side of it, why he became such an alcoholic maybe, and a womanizer and those things. Where, not why he became, but where they came from, what the genesis of all of that was. We know he was abused by a stepsister. We know that he wet his bed. We know that he had lots of anxiety. He was shy. He didn't get along well with girls. But he was a nice kid, a genuine kid. People liked him. He did well in school. So that's the story I was trying to tell.
Yeah, and you did it so well. The book is called Mutt's Dream, Making the Mick. Howard Burman has been our guest here on Indiana in the Morning. So I know it's much more difficult these days to get your hands on a book. What are the ways that people can do this one?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any other online seller. Unfortunately, as we all know, there aren't a lot of people going into bookstores right now, but Amazon will do it. Barnes & Noble will do it.
That'll do it. And for folks who want to learn more about you and your work, do you have a website?
I do. It's Howard Burman, BURMAN.com.
There you go. There you go. Howard Burman, Mutt's Dream, Making the Mick. Thanks for spending some time with us today.
I loved it. Thanks so much.
Have a great day today.
You too. You too.